Well, guys, we are in for some dark, dark times. Just ahead, our economy seemingly on the brink of collapse. We have to look at all of the contributing factors that make our financial crisis so serious. Last week, we concentrated on our overspending as a nation. One of those is energy. We're going to concentrate on that all this week. The energy, we need as much as we can get. Oil prices are down compared to the $140 a barrel high in early summer. Demand is down, and did you notice that oil was down under $100 just recently? Cheaper oil is yet another sign that your personal economy is hurting. Oil is cheaper because there's more of it around, and there's more of it around because you don't have the cash to buy it. However, I noticed earlier today, last I looked, oil was about $116 a barrel. Here's the problem. We don't make things in this country anymore. We make paper. Our economy is about to reset. We are going to need to retool as a nation, start making things again, and that is going to take energy and lots of it. For our first day in our week-long series, Exposed, End of Oil, I want to talk about oil's past, its future, and energy's future. T. Boone Pickens is the CEO of BP Capital. Good to see you again. Boone, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Glenn, how are you doing?
I'm very good. The economy here in America, I think, is about to reset, and we're going to need lots and lots of energy, and we're going to need our energy. You say oil is not the answer. One of the answers is natural gas. My question is, why aren't we doing natural gas already? What has stopped us from doing natural gas?
Well, first thing would be leadership. We had people in this country didn't want to use natural gas for transportation fuel. They wanted to use gasoline and diesel. And so for years, there are 8.5 million vehicles in the world on natural gas. We have 142,000 of them.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Why? So we know all of the problems that we have now. Why aren't we on? How long would it take us to retool? And because you can retrofit your engine, you just change your engine, right? And it'll run on natural gas.
Well, I'm not thinking about your engine. I'm thinking about the trucks. 1 million trucks on natural gas would cut our diesel usage down by 40%. So it needs to go to the trucks. It goes to your car and my car, kind of
secondary.
Okay. And so, but this is all has to happen. You know, it's interesting, Glenn. What is the bailout cost? $700 billion.
Yeah, more than that. You know it and I know it.
Okay, $700 billion is a number they're publishing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much oil we buy every year in America. So $700 billion worth of foreign oil that we get, and you have $700 billion for a bailout of Wall Street. It's interesting those two numbers are the same.
So, but Boone, why are we not doing, for instance, just the natural gas? What will it take just to do the natural gas part? That seems a no-brainer, especially with truckers having the problem that they've already had and they're going to have again.
Glenn, we've got to do it, and leadership will take us to where we're going to go. To date, we've had no leadership. So in this administration coming up, we have to have a promise of these two candidates that we're going to vote on in November. We have to have them tell us that they have an energy plan. An energy plan in America has to use natural gas for transportation fuel. It's the only resource we have that can replace foreign oil. You know,
Boone, you and I we've talked about your wind plan before, and I personally am for let's use everything we've got, and that includes wind and solar. But we've also talked about peak oil, and here's what I don't understand. You say that we're at peak oil, and for anybody who, could you just define that real quick for anybody?
Yeah, well, let me give you this first. The United States peaked on oil in 1970 at 10 million barrels a day. We now produce 5 million, and we're declining. So peak oil for the world, I think you've peaked at 85 million barrels.
Okay, now you say that, but we haven't been aggressively going after the oil that we have offshore, etc. We haven't been going off into Alaska. Russia is shooting capsules down at the bottom of the North Pole to be able to claim all of that. Brazil, they were known to not have any more oil, and yet they found it just off the shore of Brazil here recently, biggest find offshore that anybody found, if I'm not mistaken. What's to say that there is more oil. We're just not finding it. We're not going after it.
Well, Glenn, look at the magnitude of the problem. 85 million barrels will decline at about 7% a year. So to start off with, to get back to 85, you got to add back 5 or 6 million barrels a year. And so when you mention Tupi in Brazil, that is a big field. That doesn't come on for 10 years. But it's, we do have oil different places around the world. But when you're trying to replace 5 or 6 million that's depleting every year, it's hard to do. And so I think we've peaked, and it'll be a struggle to stay at 85 million barrels a day.
Can you put this into perspective? People just think that I've up on my website today, I've got these people who are sitting around a stump of a tree crying about the tree. Oh, the tree, and they're literally crying. They're crazy whack jobs. People just think that we can get out of the energy business entirely, not replace it with really anything. You've got the same environmentalists that don't want to have power lines coming from solar panels or wind panels now. Could you please put into perspective the energy wars that are going to happen on this planet if we don't wake up soon?
Well, there's no question you get back to the same thing again, leadership. Leadership has got to get all these things fixed. And, for instance, you're going to have a national grid. Today, our grid is so old that if Thomas Edison came back to life and looked at our grid, he would see some of the same things he installed before he died. And so our grid is old. They call it the accidental grid. We need to replace the grid, and it need to proceed. And I see doing it like Eisenhower did the interstate highways, that he stepped up and said, this is a crisis, it's an emergency, and this is what we're going to do. And everybody got behind him and did it. That's what you're going to have to do on the grid. You're going to have to go to the Eisenhower interstate highway emergency.
Boone, I have a feeling that we may need some of those federal work projects coming soon. Boone, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.